Hi, welcome back to another episode of Prince Dyer's Creative Friends, the super awesome podcast show where me, your artist friend Chris Dyer, talks to all his amazing creative friends. Today, I'm in the Grass Valley of California. I'm at the Chambers Project Gallery, and I get to talk to the man himself, Brian Chambers, who's a psychedelic art collector, curator, gallery owner, and we get into a really interesting conversation about the psychedelic art movement, his story, gallery art, etc. I think you'll really enjoy this one. Blessings!
While the world is burning, got to make amends. Walk on the sunny side with a positive lens. Talks about passion between a women and a man. Chris Dyer and his creative friends. Darling, ooh, ooh,
Just found Smurfette on the trip. But anyways, Brian, woo! Thank you so much for having me over your beautiful gallery.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, we're in Grass Valley, California. How come you're in this town?
Grass Valley has been my home for 14 years now. This is where I chose to raise my family and set up shop. Love it here.
Beautiful. It's a great town. It has this very charming old school vibe to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of history here, a lot of really cool creative people, and beautiful geographic, just the Yuba River. I love it.
Nice. So I'm gonna just go straight to the main question. Tell me about the Chambers Project. It seems like it's like the #1 super amazing psychedelic gallery out there that you've put so much passion and love into. Please tell me a little bit about at least this incarnation of it.
Well, this incarnation has been open now for a little over a year and a half. You know, I got the building about 3.5 years ago, but it took a long time to remodel it and pull everything together. But this is the latest incarnation of my curation and the psychedelic arts that I love and have been deeply involved in for a very long time.
It's awesome. It's like super huge, lots of space. You got the second floor where you like have offices and storage, and then you got this like second area for parties or something.
Yeah, you know that we're working on the final plans for what we're going to do over there, but to this point, it's been kind of events and food and drinks during the gallery shows, but we've been putting together the plan of what we're going to do with that on a long-term level. Yeah.
Well, it's so cool. I'm like so impressed and so inspired walking through here and checking out the show, starting with Justin Lovato's show. Can you tell me a little bit about the current show happening here?
Yeah, this is Justin Lovato, one of my best friends that I've been, I've known him since 2010. This is our 5th show together called Monad. Justin is an artist that grew up in the Sacramento area and has moved around a lot, but it recently moved back about a year ago. So he's a local now, raising his kid here, and this is his current show.
That's awesome, man. Super sweet guy. I've always enjoyed talking to him whenever I meet him, and he was here at the beginning of the setup, so it was good to catch up.
Definitely.
So, Brian, you seem to have one of the best psychedelic art collections that I've seen, or past what I've seen. You just simply have this beautiful art collection. How do you get here? Like, what's your story? How do you fall in love with psychedelic art and, go and become part of it?
Well, I suppose that my story starts in high school. You know, I started collecting items, Smurfs, baseball cards, comic books in elementary and middle school. And then once I got to high school and moved on to the psychedelic side of life and started going to concerts, kind of started with concert posters, and Albert Hoffman signed ephemera. In fact, the first piece of art that I ever bought was in '95, and that was the 50-year anniversary of Bicycle Day.
Okay.
Um,
How old were you when you found that Albert Hoffman poster?
16.
Wow. So at 16 years old, you're already into, let's say, acid culture?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Like, when did LSD reach you?
When I was 15.
Okay.
That was my first psychedelic experience, and that's what really started my research into psychedelic art as a whole. And what brought me to the 60s poster movement. I'd also just read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and discovered the work of Ralph Steadman and his collaborations with Hunter Thompson. And so, Alex Gray, Rick Griffin, Ralph Steadman are kind of my roots and where my taste in art was developed and came from.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
John told me that you had an art teacher in school that had a Alex Gray poster in your classroom, right?
It was my sophomore year science teacher, but yes, she
Okay,
had
science.
Yeah, science in Tennessee.
Okay.
Very conservative place.
That's where you grew up, Tennessee?
That's where I grew up.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, but she did. She had Alex Gray posters on the wall, and one day while I was very activated, she chose to tell us that this art was inspired by LSD. And that was like an aha moment for me, and that's what made me realize, okay, it's not just me. This psychedelic art is a thing and worth looking into on a deeper level.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting. So when your teacher told you that this is art done under LSD influence, did you know what that was? Like, did schoolmates already were experimenting with that, or?
There were a lot of my buddies. We were getting high and experimenting with things, but no, that was like, I suspected. I grew up looking at Salvador Dali prints, and I always gravitated towards that. But no, that was kind of the moment for me when I realized, okay, this is probably a bigger thing, and I've been diving down that rabbit hole ever since.
Uh-huh. And it seems like you've been trying to collect the art of these early artists that influence you, right?
Yeah, how could you not, Yeah, these were the godfathers and the forefathers of my scene and what I've chose to pursue as a lifestyle and career. So yeah, I immediately started collecting Alex Gray prints, posters, 60s posters, and Steadman prints.
Okay.
Yeah, and over time it's just kind of changed into originals and commissioning. That's kind of where it began, though.
Okay, nice. So you started with prints, and then slowly you got originals. Do you remember what's your first original painting you got?
The first original painting that I got was done by Jay Garcia at a Sector 9 show in 2003.
So cool.
But then, so between 95 and 2008, I was pretty deep into the concert posters.
Uh-huh.
And then I met Mars One in 2008, and that was the first serious original that I got. And that was a moment that changed my life.
Okay, nice. Meanwhile, you were growing your own business to be able to afford psychedelic art?
Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur and always had various hustles, a lot of which was concert posters and blotter art and other types of art and ephemera books. But, after 2008, that was when it was like, okay, this is exactly what I'm doing.
Right, because buying a Mars One painting, I don't imagine is a cheap exchange. So did you, I don't want to ask you about like your activities back in those days too much, but you want to share how you got to first start funding to invest bigger and bigger into the art world?
Yeah, say I discovered California weed in '97 at a High Times event in Ohio. And at that point, I was smoking swag, and I got my first bag of kind bud and paid a very premium price for it. And I realized that there was possibly some money to be made in that, and that I should potentially look into that as a way to fund my collecting and the lifestyle that I wanted to live.
Mm-hmm.
So I rode the ganja train for quite a while.
It's good that you caught that, because that scene and job line really helped artists. You know, like I used to get so much more jobs before the weed crash.
We all did.
But at least it's good that it even existed, you know, that there was whole like industry of like rebellious, cool, good tasting people that would have money from herb and then would invest it back into art that reflects the psychedelic vibration.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say that many patrons of the arts have been involved in some sort of countercultural, borderline legal hustle over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was definitely helped position me to a place where I could pursue this as what I want to do.
Right. Well, in a way, the art of psychedelics, even though it's the art of God, it's the art of like the spiritual positive world where love is a reality that has to flood into humanity to save us from the fucking lies and illusions we live in, somehow that portal is illegal. Babylon said like, no, don't go and see the truth.
Yeah, well, it's changing these days, you know.
Yeah.
A lot's changed in the last 25 years, and a lot's changed in the last 3 years.
Uh-huh.
And I think, in times ahead, we're going to see psychedelics shift and become a major market that is socially accepted and will hopefully then refuel the art market to some degree.
Right. I think it's already happening, but we're at such a weird point where both the ganja industry is crashing, at least for the real people who are doing it, like growing it and serving it, not Babylon fucking corporate ganja. That is going down, but then the acceptance of psychedelics is going up through new books and documentaries and series. So it's at a really interesting point where it hasn't really exploded yet, but at least the consciousness behind it is easing up. So do you feel like, somebody who's been investing into psychedelic all these years, when it was tougher, is setting themselves up for like a really nice wave to come?
Definitely, 100%. I think as psychedelic culture and psychedelics as a medicine become more and more socially and medically accepted, destigmatized by the population as a whole, psychedelic art is moving into the mainstream, like blue chip arena, whereas before it might have been viewed as outsider art, on the fringe of fine art by the high art world as a whole.
Right.
But yeah, I think it's definitely a very exciting time, and there's a lot of promise in psychedelic art now and in the future for sure.
Yeah, even with their current struggles, I think if we like go through this lower part of the wave, once it goes up, I believe in the positive future. I believe humanity will be saved. I believe the love gates will come through and people will awaken to a true reality, and all of a sudden art like this will be valued as our higher reality.
I couldn't agree more.
And I think people like yourself and so many in our community will be like honored for trying to serve it at a time when it was demonized.
I agree completely, and I think it's a very interesting time right now, but I do think that what I have honored within myself and the aesthetic that I represent has been psychedelic from day one. I do think that we are one of the only galleries that has been screaming, "We are psychedelic" since day one, you know. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool time in art.
That's awesome, man. What would you tell me is the difference between psychedelic art and visionary art? Is one the umbrella of the other? Like sometimes people say like visionary art is the larger umbrella and psychedelic is in there, but others could say like, no, psychedelic art is the umbrella and visionary art is in there. So what's your point of view?
Well, you know, I mean, that's always a really tough question to answer. I think both psychedelic and visionary art owe something to the psychedelic experience. You know, for me personally, the way that I have been able to most identify what I think the differences are is oftentimes the figures and the mystical beings that are largely associated with visionary art. Whereas for me personally, but this is totally personal because all these terms and all this different definitions of art are very personal for each individual.
Right.
So for me, psychedelic art has always been something less representational and non-figurative.
Okay.
You know, just looser. For me, I like to wonder what it is I'm looking at. And I don't get as much enjoyment out of looking at something that was very clearly, or at least for me, it appears to have been painted trying to convey a certain message.
Interesting. Because we're inventing this culture as it goes. Sure, there's like lots of roots, but as this culture emerges more and more, we're still in defining the words and deciding what means what and who gets to decide what. I think we're just still having the discussion, and everybody's opinion matters. But that's interesting to hear that like visionary art would be something more subjective, like a person, a character, a being, and psychedelic would just be more like the vibration. Like if somebody was to ask me like, yo, what's this painting by Justin? I would have to like really totally come with my own interpretation of like, oh, well, that's God. Or that is the love vibration that's within us all, or it's fractalized consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, I would have to like come up with my own definition.
Yeah.
As opposed to say like an Alex Gray painting that's like, oh, this is a person and you can see their energy through it, but it's different.
Yeah, you know, so for me, you hit it on the head. This is very hard to define. I mean, it's clearly like a sunrise or sunset through a fractalized psychedelic experience, and that's what, I don't know, that's what I get out of it, you know, but I liked it.
But the psychedelic experience has different aspects. You got the visuals, and you're like, whoa, this is trippy looking, but you also got the feeling. And in that feeling, you feel like you're more than just you. You are the fractalized dimension you're observing. Yeah. So in that way, it's almost like psychedelic art would be the feeling over the visuals, even though it's a visual in itself.
For sure, you know, and for me, when I discovered Mars, and the first time I saw a Mars piece, I was just like, holy shit, this guy has painted what I've seen on my wildest DMT experience, you know? And I was just like, Jesus Christ, this guy's seeing the same sort of shit that I am, and he can paint it. And so that's what really gravitated me towards that style of work. You know, I'd just never seen anybody paint this abstract, wholesome looking geometric worlds like he was doing it.
Yeah.
But it felt familiar, and it felt like something that I had experienced before, and a place that I'd been to and felt lucky to have seen, you know. So that for me is a large part of what pulls me towards certain styles and artists.
Nice. Well, I imagine you're both alien consciousness from that dimension that he's painting. So you find this resonance, like, I know that place, you know, like we're from that universe. And Mars, it's more like he's creating like a vibe through the beauty of his visions.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope to interview him at some point. Every time I'm in California, he's always in Portugal. So I keep on missing him. But he was nice enough to lend me a studio to crash in San Francisco a couple days ago.
Oh, nice, dude.
Yeah, I was so stoked. So you found Mars and you got into his art, and then you got in, well, you've been into the art of a lot of people, but could you tell me a little bit about Further Collective? Was that your concept, or was that something that was already happening between them, and then you harnessed it, or?
Well, after I met Mars in 2008, he introduced me to Oliver Vernon, Damon Soul, David Chong Lee, and Nomi Adana. You know, these guys had been friends for well over a decade at this point, and had done 2 books together and had collaborated on some levels, but further, I suppose it's fair to say the first Further collaboration happened at Symbiosis 2009, and that was a project that I commissioned and put together, and we all had a ton of fun doing it, and realized, you know, just from the reaction of everyone and the result of the painting, that this was something worth diving into a little deeper and doing a little more frequently and seeing where we could take it. And so, you know, I don't know how many there's been, but there's been probably 30 collabs.
Really? There's been
since-
30 Further collabs already?
Yeah, something like that. Probably, you know, 25, 30 in the last 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that Symbiosis was the first one. I always that's where I've always seen it, at Symbiosis gatherings. It always seems like such an epic offering, not just that you got these 5 amazing painters doing a giant, beautiful painting, but also the whole Colosseum or scenario that you guys have put together. Tell me about this crazy offering that you're doing. Like, it's such an investment.
Yeah, well, you know, it's over the years, and as you know, as time has gone by and more fun is had and the paintings get better and better, we've just scaled up the production. You know, at Symbiosis 2009, it was a 30-foot geodesic dome that we laced out and did as good as we could with the finances we had and made as much out of it as we could. And then 2012, we built a trilobite structure that was amazing. The one I think you're probably referring to is 2015, and that was an arena that was built that would fit a few hundred people.
It was awesome. It had like a DJ booth. It was all made out of reclaimed wood. It even had a little net for people who were falling into the K-hole to be captured.
Yeah. You know, that project actually started, there was an old Red Dog post office right like half a mile down the street from my house, and it was condemned, and the city came through and they were going to tear it down. So we offered to tear it down for them, and we used that wood to build that stage.
Wow, who did that? Who built that stage?
A bunch of amazing people. Warren Binder was the lead on that.
Okay.
You know, but there's a further, you know, the Further painters are an obvious 5, but I think it's fair to say that Further as a collective involves a lot of really talented, motivated, inspired builders that help manifest everything.
That was so special because, like, not only had the stages where people could like sit there all day looking at these amazing painters, but it had little nooks, and it was just so artistic. It's a stupid question because, like, I'd ask, like, why would you put so much time and money and investment into doing something beautiful? I think that should just be the nature of everybody. But why? Like, it goes against to the way where most people think. Like, people are like, oh, I only really will put money into something that will guarantee me a lot of money back. It almost seems like you were doing like, look at this beauty that I can put together.
Well, for me, you know, it was about being able to, you know, money grew on trees back then, first of all. So I was in a fortunate position with other friends of mine that we had cash to burn, and that was our way of sharing an experience that was, you know, meant the world to me, and paying it forward and sharing that sort of creativity and inspiration. So, you know, we Yeah. I mean, it probably traditionally wasn't. It didn't seem like a smart financial decision for me, or for a lot of people. But I knew that it was a good idea, and that, as evidenced by the previous 6 years of work, that the paintings kept getting better and bigger and more cohesive, more efficient. And so it became a deeply personal experience that I was just extremely grateful that I could be in a position to share that with the world.
Nice. Well, thank you for doing that for us, for everybody who was there, and for the artists I created there. It almost seems like when you create an environment of epicness, there's like no chance that something very special could happen.
That's definitely what I've noticed. You know, you get a bunch of magicians in the same room and in a badass inspired, installation, and magic seems to happen.
Right. Well, it was awesome. I was really like amazed and impressed. I was painting a mural not too far from there. I think that the one I'm thinking of is Eclipse, the Oregon Eclipse.
Yeah.
And I had a mural like just across a little thing, and I would always go there and hang out, and then the Gaslamp Killer would be playing, and it was just such a special time. Okay, this is a straight up question. How much are these artists influenced by psychedelics while they're creating the piece itself?
Well, I think that's, they're all definitely influenced by psychedelic during their formative years, and I think probably as you and I both had more time and opportunity to dive deep into psychedelics when you're younger and before you have kids and before you have the bills to pay, So I think it's probably fair to say that these days, I mean, their work is inherently always going to be influenced by that side of life, but generally speaking, none of them, from what I've seen and experienced, they don't generally like to paint in the studio, activated. In the live setting, it's a difference, and there's probably a lot of that going on.
Right. It seemed like everyone was hitting that DMT pen on stage, and you're like looking at it, it's like, oh, there they go. It's like, I couldn't, like, it's such an intimate thing. It's like I'm opening up to my most biggest intimate way, and there's like a stage there, like that takes a lot of courage that I personally don't have. And in general, I can't paint on psychedelics because I'm too much in the experience to be like painting up a brush and making any sense of it.
Yeah.
But perhaps some people got that talent.
Yep, some of them seem to have that under control better than others, but I feel you. But at that particular one, yes, it smelled like mothballs.
Yeah. So, in Fur Collective, you got 5 very uniquely powerful and talented artists, each one with a probably grand personality, and then you're putting them together. Is it ever, I don't know if you manage them, but is it ever difficult to like put these 5 personalities together? Does it ever do the energies ever conflict, like magnets that are so strong that they bounce off each other in a weird way, or do they always learn how to flow and make magic?
They've been friends for so long and have influenced each other on their solo careers for long enough before the further stuff really started taking off that the trust and the framework was built and so strong, and that now it's, and the way those paintings are approached is there is nothing planned. It's just intuitive abstraction. Nothing is precious. Everything can be painted over, and there's been a time, or maybe 2, that someone has had a problem with something that happened, but now, generally speaking, it's all just fun and games, and the trust is there, and it works out.
Nice. That's good to hear.
It removes the ego. There is no ego in those paintings,
So when would you say the Chambers project started? You were collecting, you were pitching out these beautiful further offerings. Was the Chambers project already happening when that happened, or is this a newer thing?
I suppose, I mean, the first solo artist show that I ever did was with Damon Soul in 2013. And after that, I started doing shows at least annually, and it's kind of built into a more consistent thing with a permanent location only in the last like 5 or 6 years.
Before that, where was it?
In pop-up locations at Friends, Galleries, San Francisco, Denver, Miami, you know, Art Fair, Basel, and
Right.
but
Yeah, it seems like you guys take over scope sometimes.
yeah, we just did that once, but yeah.
That's a big flex, because scope, even though it's like the cool art fair of Basel time, once again, you're coming from a psychedelic angle. So it's kind of like the French people come and take over the real art world.
You know, that was that was the only time that we have done, well, I have done scope, you know. All these guys have shown other work at scope before, but I just did it that 1 year, and it was a huge energetic and financial output for minimal return. But you know, Trump had just got elected. The whole world was in a real weird spot. So, you know, timing is everything, as with everything in life. We'll get back to Miami again. That was the once for me.
Okay, yeah, I understand. I've never done scope. Once I looked into renting a booth, and I think it was like $12,000, and I was just like, that's a lot. Like, I'd have to sell, and then there was like extras. You got to pay for this. You got to pay for that.
Yeah, no, it's a whole hustle. I mean, that was 6 figures to do that show.
Right. So I that year that I passed on scope, instead I rented a warehouse, fucking turned it into a gallery, and then I threw a solo show, and that was a lot cheaper to do. But, you know, but people are on the street anyways. So what are other artists in your collective, past the further 5, that you have here? One that I love is my good friend Sebastian Wall. He's part of your family, right?
He's definitely one of my favorite artists, best friends, favorite people. His work is obviously a lot different than most of the other stuff, but it's always been and always will be some of my very favorite. Sebastian Wall, Colin Prawl, who is another local, who you should meet him if you
I'd love to meet him. I love his work.
Yeah. I mean, he's one of my favorites. He's my buddy that painted the bus out there. Justin. We've got some shows coming up with some people that you've probably never heard of. I'm looking forward to those. You know, I'm always going to work with Ralph and the Rick Griffin Estate, Roger Dean. I mean, he's another old school legend. But we got a bunch of stuff coming up that we're really excited about. We're working less and putting more into it. You know, quality over quantity.
Mirror One is also somewhat part of this.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Mirror One. His work is, you know, definitely very powerful.
That's more subjective, though.
For sure.
And it's even political.
Yeah, very political. Yeah, he's a live wire, and he's got a lot to say that he likes to speak through his brushes. So we have done some stuff together, and I'm sure we will in the future. But you know, we've never done a solo show together.
Yeah. Well, I also hope to have a conversation with him eventually. So tell me about these 3 classic psychedelic artists that you've been working with. Ralph Steadman, Roger Dean, and Rick Griffin.
Well, to start with Rick, I mean, I think, you know, Rick was part of the big 5 that were credited with starting the poster revolution in the 60s, along with Stanley Mouse, Alton Kelly, Victor Moscoso, and Wes Wilson. Rick was also very involved with Zap Comics, Underground Comics, with R. Crumb. But Rick, for me, after I discovered the psychedelic poster movement, he stood out from the very beginning, you know, and always gravitated towards his work. unfortunately, he passed away at a very early age of 47
Wow.
in 91, so I never got to meet him.
Car accident or something?
Motorcycle,
Motorcycle,
yeah. But I have been blessed to get to know his wife and all of his kids, and I work with the estate often, and we've done a bunch of projects together, a bunch of bronze, print editions, T-shirt editions, and got a lot of stuff on the horizon with them. You know, Ralph, everybody knows Ralph, probably most through his collaborations with Hunter Thompson, and he was the illustrator for Hunter Thompson throughout his entire life and career, did all the illustrations for Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. He's 88 years old now and still producing, and is always going to be the king of illustration. You know, he's one of the most prolific guys that I've ever known, and I am very grateful that I've gotten to know him and spend as much time with him as I have been able to. You know, and again, I kind of started working with him by producing a bronze for him. It was the first bronze, same as the Rick Griffin Estate. You know, so bronze production has been like a key in my process and career, and a big part of my formula and things I like to do. You know, so Ralph's retrospective tour is getting ready to get started again next year. So you'll be able to catch Steadman at a wide range of cities in a major museum retrospective starting next fall. Roger Dean, legend.
I love fucking Roger Dean. Like as you're a Deadhead, I'm a Yes head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Yes is my favorite band.
Dude, well, you know, they're getting ready to start a North American tour.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, and Roger's going to be on it with them from.
Really? What does he live paint, or he just shows up, or?
He shows up. He's going to be doing a lot of the posters. He's going to open every show with a talk, and there will be some live painting.
Hopefully he comes through Florida so I can catch him.
He'll definitely come through Florida. So yeah, mid-September through early November, Yes is touring North America, and he'll be here for that. And
Paulina, let's look into that later, right?
yeah, definitely love to introduce you to him, man.
Yeah, he lives in England, I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's been here, and he had a solo show.
Yeah, well, a show with his daughter. Yeah, but
I saw his daughter's paintings. They were beautiful.
Yeah, well, the apple don't fall far from that tree. Genetics seem to be a real thing with the artistic gene in that family. But yeah, he's been here 4 times. He loves it here. He's doing his first ever collaborative painting with Mars right now.
Mars so lucky. He gets to collaborate with all these super legendary artists.
Mars is lucky.
Well, he's lucky and he's talented, but like, you know, he's collaborated with Those Green, Alex Gray, Ralph Steadman, now Roger Dean. I'm just like, oh my God, I'd love to collaborate with any of those artists. It's like a dream for anyone.
Yeah, you know, and I think he's definitely, he cherishes those opportunities and has learned a lot and taught a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so it's been fun.
So the Rick Griffin logo that you have on your chest right now, that's a logo of your gallery, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, he had passed before your gallery even existed. How did you obtain that logo to be the official Chambers Project logo?
Well, this image was done in 1968, originally for a Mad River album cover. That was to never be. And in 1986, my mentor, Jacaber Castor, had a very influential gallery, and he's a major figure in the history of psychedelic art as a whole. But he had his grand opening in New York City at a gallery called the Psychedelic Solution. And he ended up licensing this image to be his logo. And after he sold his gallery and, you know, shifted into a different phase of his life, I was able to buy the original and license it to be my logo. And for me, it's just kind of perfect.
That's awesome. That's so great that you could get a Rick Griffin logo to be the logo of of your gallery.
Yeah, I mean, it just hits all the right spots for me, and it's kind of the perfect logo.
Yeah, that's awesome. I saw on your Instagram that you were hanging out with Bern from the Cookies Weed brand. Is that a collaboration that you're doing with him, or are you guys just friends?
Both. Yeah, we're working on some collaborative projects together, and we got connected because he was interested in starting a psychedelic art collection and learning about the market and about just how to collect and collaborate. And so that we've been working on that and getting to know each other the last few months. And
That's awesome. Is he a nice guy?
yeah, man. Yeah, he is a nice guy.
I saw a post he did at the beginning of the year where he's like, I got these walls, I'm looking for muralists. And a lot of people like tagged me in it, and I was like, I'll paint you a super cool mural if you want, but like he gets so much responses, I don't think that shit would ever reach to him. So Bern, if you're looking at this shit, I'm your man. I'll paint you a super sick mural and they'll blow your mind.
Yeah, it's funny. I got tagged in that same post, you know, and I ended up, we got connected because I had a background with his business partner. Me and his business partner go way back and did some pretty cool shit together back in the day. And so his business partner, it's like, hey man, if you're really looking to start an art collection, go over here.
Right. Well, that's great. Was that how you guys got connected?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, through that post?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny I brought it up.
Yeah.
So you got something out of it. That's good. So this is a different question. What is the etiquette of flipping art? So you buy a painting from an artist and then you have it. Like for me, when somebody buys a painting, I would hope that like they love it, they vibe it, they want to keep it. But then I had people like buy it and then they sell it to their friends, or they use it as trading chips to buy a bigger painting. Hurts my feelings a little bit sometimes, or should I just let go? I never make a profit as the prices go up. What's your perspective as somebody who trades art?
Well, you know, I mean, I've definitely had experiences where something was flipped a little sooner than I would have hoped and preferred, but you can't take it personally. You know, everybody's life experience and what they're going through in their personal life, you can't bring that into your business life. You know, so for me, I feel like, you know, once somebody buys it, it's theirs. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously, like as a dealer and a collector at my core, I want pieces that are very meaningful to me to end up with somebody that loves them and wants to spend their life with them. You know, but life is unpredictable. Shit happens, and I mean, I know it's happened for me many times. You know, like I've had to let go of some things that I never wanted to or never planned on letting go of. But you know, it's just you got to survive, right?
Yeah, you gotta play your chips correctly. Would you ever sell a painting to somebody you felt was not quote unquote worthy for that painting? Like somebody who's just like, oh, I don't care about Mars One, but I'll make a profit off him. Or I'm gonna burn this painting because I've always wanted to burn a Mars One painting. Like, would you?
Yeah, man. I mean, for me, it's very important that whoever ends up with awesome stuff is cool, right. You know, and deserving of it. You know, this art is very personal to me, and it is very important to me that it ends up with somebody that I love and respect and is gonna value it and get out of it what they can, because this art is very powerful. Right. You know,
like you're selling medicine in a way. It's more than just a visual. It's like a vibration, and it's a blueprint of the worlds we want to see or want to move into. So there's a responsibility there, and it's probably impossible to know the true intentions of every single client that comes to you, but that's good at least that you have the hope that they would honor it.
Yeah. I mean, that's all you can really do, you know, and try to get to know people. I mean, everybody has their own style of dealing art, you know, and I've got my style, but for me, it is very important to get to know whoever is getting something and to know within me that it's going to be in a good home.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Is there any projects or shows or things in the horizon for yourself and for your gallery?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely got a lot of stuff on the horizon. In the immediate future, our next show is going to be with an artist named Leighton Kelly.
Okay.
He's not on Instagram or social media, so
Boy.
this is going to kind of be an ambush, and I'm really looking forward to this one. He's an extremely talented, very eccentric and eclectic type of artist whose work crosses many mediums. And we're trying to mix it up. The TRPS, the Trips poster show in October, is something that we always look forward to, and we're going to pull out all the stops. And
TRPS?
Yeah, the Rock Poster Society.
Okay.
They do an annual event in San Francisco.
Oh, okay,
it's like the biggest concert poster show in the world. And we're sharing a booth with Roger Dean and the Griffin Estate, and producing some editions, and Roger's first bronze for that we're going to release there. Definitely looking forward to Mars and Roger finishing that collab, and we got a bunch of stuff ahead, but that's our immediate future and what we got going on.
That's awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I had a lot of fun talking with you and being in your gallery. Would you have some final words of wisdom to perhaps artists out there who watch this show, or maybe other curators and galleries are interested in investing into the psychedelic art world, but perhaps are unsure about how to go about it?
I mean, I think my advice would be to, just find what makes your heart sing, what makes you feel good, what gives you goosebumps. And if you want to get involved in curating art and producing art, there is a way to do it. That's collaboration has always been the key to my core and how I've carved whatever path I'm on. And I have no background in art. I'm not educated in art. But that would be my message, is to everybody can be involved in art, and you just got to find what you love and figure out a little way to wiggle into it,
Right.
Stay true to your core, figure out what makes you feel good, and figure out how to make it work for you in a positive way that can inspire and influence other people, I think.
That's such a an important recommendation and tip for anyone. Just do what you love. You love that shit, fucking go at it full force with passion and love, and then everything shall work out because the energy's there.
Yeah, don't chase the money, chase the fun and the sharing. And if you're having fun and you're doing something that you really enjoy doing, it's ultimately going to turn into success, right? I mean, at least that's kind of how I live my life and the way that I believe.
Yeah, well, it seems to be working great for you.
Just trying, man.
Good. Sounds like you're having a fucking fun life.
Yeah, it is fun. I love this life.
Yeah.
Grateful for a lot of people.
Yo!
Hell yeah.
Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. Please make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all the boring things. Paulina's telling me to look at the middle camera now. Thank you, Paulina. And I'll see you next time. Blessings. Woo!
Nice, dude.
Next episode, Damon Soul.
So there are always these threads that, intertwine with other things. And
Well, we're all expressions of the one, so holographically, we're all embedded in each other.
yeah, the hermetic principle of things. That's the hermetic view of the universe, which I am very sympathetic to. I don't know what's true, but hermeticism seems pretty solid.
Yeah, we're the dream of God.
Yeah. Like all shards of the one. But having said that, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So if the...
Question for me?
Yeah, for you. So if the goal, right, if everything is one and the goal is to make everything one again, right?
Sure.
Are you into that idea? Like
Yeah.
transhumanism?
Oh, transhumanism.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Big thanks and see you next episode. Peace.